His birthday?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Gia. You don't have to steal my eyelashes today. I'll give them to you.
Happy birthday. We'll put on a birthday song. Here we go. It's a random one. Ooh, I like it so far. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Is she still in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
Like, happy birthday. Oh,
Hoy la vida te
No.
regala.
no.
Estas son las mañanitas. Sí, para ti. Sí, claro, para ti. Es que hoy cumples años. ¿Cuántos? ¿1 o 2? A lo mejor son 3 o 4. A
Chapulín.
lo mejor son 5, 6 o 7, machete.
I'm
8,
trying to find a song that
9
Las Manitas,
Yes.
but it's being
o
weird.
20.
I'm trying. I'm sorry.
30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 o 100. No importa. No importa los años que cumplas. ¡Felicidades! Ahora sí, mis amiguitos, ya les voy a interpretar la canción más exquisita que ahorita van a escuchar. Que la pasen muy contentos en este día tan feliz y que cumplan muchos años, se los desea Cepillín.
There it is.
Hey, Chad, let me hear you for your best grito.
Let's do it. Give me a grito.
Qué linda está la mañana en que vengo a saludarte.
You love it, Gia?
Venimos todos con gusto y placer a felicitarte. El día en que tú naciste, nacieron todas las flores.
Good morning, Miss
Y en
Moore.
la pila del
It's Gia's
bautismo
birthday.
cantaron los ruiseñores. Ya viene amaneciendo, ya la luz del día nos dio.
Good morning, Rhonda.
Levántate de mañana, mira que ya amaneció. ¡Vámonos! ¡Antes todos! ¡Ay!
love that song. That my mom and my grandma sing that song to me every year on my birthday, and I just wanted to share that with you. And do I know the song? No, I don't. But I know that it's meant for birthdays.
I'm one of those Mexicans.
I'm a Wysican. Y'all. Y'all don't know what a Wysican is, a white person that's Mexican that don't know Spanish. Oh, so good. I love it.
A little güerita.
I am a güerita. I am a gringa. I am. Okay.
Oh, today's a birthday party for Christy's daughter.
Oh, yes, that's right. Because she said she was going to miss your thing tonight because of that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, today's her birthday party, but her birthday's actually on the 27th. So
Happy birthday, little daughter.
Hey, so she can like
She
be at
said
the
happy
party
birthday to you.
and then live stream the battle
here,
and then just put it away.
behind the door?
say thank you.
Oh, can I play her birthday song?
Thank you.
I'll play her an English birthday song.
Okay, that's good.
I'll play her in English.
Here we go. This is for the birthday girl. Today. Happy birthday! Day to you. Happy birthday, Christy's daughter. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy
Ayla?
birthday.
Am I saying that right? Ayla?
Happy birthday to you.
Wait, say it real quick.
Ayla.
Ayla. Hey, Ayla, happy birthday, doll.
Everybody butchers her name. They call her Allah or
I said Ayla. Oh,
It looks like Ayla because it's
A-
A-Y.
that's a beautiful name.
Yes.
This is for her.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
We got some birthdays. We're just celebrating.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Cheers to another year, girlfriend.
Happy birthday to you.
It's too bad for you to
Birthday
dance
to
now.
you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Little beautiful Ayla. I hope you have the best party today and you feel the love,
A
girl.
pool party.
You are special. You are loved.
Thank you.
On
Happy
your special
birthday,
day,
Ayla.
may your heart be as light as the laughter you inspire.
Happy birthday.
That's what it says. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
All right. Thank you so much for y'all hanging out and celebrating birthdays. We got Ayla and Gia. I know you said Ayla's birthday is this week. It's not actually today, but we're celebrating it today. And you should celebrate your birthday for the whole week, even the whole month.
Rose, did you hear her? Rose,
Yes.
did you hear Ayla?
Oh no, what did you say? Got
Ayla.
my little potato ears listening.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, baby doll. I hope you enjoy your day, your party.
You're still a big girl, even though you're not 10.
Yeah. So, Honey Flewer, how are you?
I'm good. This is so sweet. I love that birthday song. I hope that Ayla has the best day ever. It's the best day ever.
Yes. Yes, I
Yes.
hope so too. And then today's Gia's birthday, and I hope she has the best day ever.
Yeah,
And
feliz cumpleaños.
yeah, and then tonight, y'all don't forget Philisthea. Oh wait, Philisthea and Chewy are gonna be battling 7 p.m. Central Time.
I'm so excited. For that.
Yes. So Chewy is gonna be Ryan. Hey guys, let's take a poll. And then Philisthea is gonna be Gypsy Rose in her prison days. So this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be real fun.
Oh
Y'all
my
don't want to
God.
miss this. Y'all know that both of these individuals are like on point with their impromptu. Like it's incredible.
I'm telling y'all, you better put your diapers on because you're going to piss yourself laughing.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Vicky if she can put Depends in her shop so we can all order Depends because we're gonna be laughing so much we might pee ourselves.
I might have some after my childbirth.
Oh my God, those were the best pads. I like totally like. If I could get pads like that for like all the times that time comes,
Hey,
I would
Lala.
be one happy camper.
I mean, after having a C-section, yeah, you had to depend on them.
Like people
Yeah.
steal those from the hospital. Those are like some quality pads.
I took plenty of them because I needed them.
That after a C-section, you depend on Depends.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh wait, you have to mod too, guys. Wait, who do you got to mod? You should.
You can mod me.
I'm gonna be there. I can mod for you.
I'm just kidding.
Y'all
And
better be there
hey,
to
did
support
y'all see my
Ryan.
post? Did y'all see my post? I just posted it before I went live right now. I posted the little flyer for tonight, and I said, "Will Gypsy finally win a battle? Will she win? Because you know that girl's on a losing streak."
Now this one is a tough one because like
I know
do
the person.
like who do we like more, Ryan or Gypsy? I'd
know
say
you
probably
guys are
Ryan
Team
because he didn't
Ryan.
unalive anybody. He's just
Y'all
a
better
jerk.
be Team
Hey,
Ryan.
I don't know, Philisthea. I don't know if Honey is
I can help Philthy if she needs some mod. I can hang out there.
yeah,
Like,
Philisthea. Honey is the sweetest person, and she will keep you safe.
yeah, I can do because I don't mod for Chewy. I mod for Rose.
Yeah.
Chewy's got mods going out the wazoo. Rose made room for me.
Chewy mods his own. Chewy taking all his mods' powers away like all the time. It's like Chewy don't need no mods. He mods his own self.
I'm bipolar with my mods.
Yeah,
It's
look,
like-
we don't want Philisthea getting harassed. That's not okay. It's not
No,
okay.
I will help. I will help her out. It's like I'm just joking with Chewy. He's like, I applied to be Chewy's mod, and he's like, sorry, honey, that position has been filled.
I applied. So
No, I never
we're
asked.
taking
I never asked, guys.
applications for
I'm not
mod
starting TikTok
duties.
rumors.
Applications are back open because I had to spend fucking 12 to 15 months.
Hey, Hidden. Hey, Hidden. Okay, so Billy Knox released unfinished case files, the plea deal of Gypsy Rose, part 10. So y'all remember last night or yesterday we got through number 9. We were doing the interrogation of Gypsy Rose, seeing her and all her lies. You know, it's so crazy now to watch Gypsy Rose's interrogation and how she just spews lie after lie after lie.
Lies!
Manipulations, lies. After all these videos have come out with her like, I can kill, I can steal, I'm a bad girl, I will grape you, I will have my way with you. Like, for real, girl? You're tripping. Yeah, it's not even honest with her own yeah, it wasn't even honest with her own lawyer.
Hey, Chew, read the comment.
I was reading it right then. She might.
Yes. Y'all be ready for that Fire D
Tell
tonight.
about how the editing of the book and the cutting the head off.
Oh yeah. Well,
I think the
who
next
posted
battle, you
that?
should do Gypsy and Nick.
Oh,
No, I can't do that.
I don't know if we could do Nick. That's a sensitive one right there.
Okay.
But we definitely be taking requests. Like, I mean, we got all different kinds of gypsies and all different. And I think we got a Fancy up in the line. I think Fancy might be next, or actually,
Jeez.
well, but also a B Money is supposed to be. We're supposed to be a B Money, Fancy. I mean,
Chris Lewis.
And then
Who's Chris Lewis?
Some douchebag.
We even got bald head ho Gypsy. You know, like Gypsy with the bald head and the big pink glasses. We can do that one.
Gypsy versus Barney.
Hey, Julie Bean.
Oh, I got a Barney too.
Ooh, Gypsy versus Barney.
They love you, you love me.
I like that one. Philathea, what do you think about little Gypsy versus Barney?
Jelly.
I think it should be like a four-coast.
Philathea says yes to the Chris Lewis.
Hey, Jelly Bean.
Welcome
You
in.
gotta get a Fancy, you gotta get a Ryan, you gotta get a Gypsy, and then you gotta find somebody else to do like Morbid.
Or Casey Anthony. Oh, we could do so many.
Oh my God.
Oh, she said Casey Anthony. Hey, Philathea, can you do Casey Anthony and Chewy do Gypsy?
Maybe I'll be Barney.
Or can you think you could do Casey Anthony?
Maybe I'll be Barney and she can be Gypsy.
Oh, I love you.
And I'll be like, hey, Gypsy, you want to come sit back in my lap?
Gypsy!
Oh my God.
Oh, God. I know, it's rough. It's rough. All right, I want to get into this video because I heard...
First made this
Hold
series.
on. Look, I heard that this video that she just put out is off the chain. Okay? Let me see if I can get my camera straightened up here. Zoomed in. Get my life together, fam. I gotta get my shit together.
First world problems.
All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
I had questions. Questions about how a first-degree
Ronald
murder
McDonald
charge
and
became a
Gypsy.
10-year sentence.
That is a good
Questions about what happened privately between Gypsy Rose Blanchard's defense team and the Greene County prosecuting attorney. Questions about what information shaped the decision to reduce her charge. and questions about what evidence the state had and had not reviewed before deciding that 10 years was an appropriate resolution. I'm Billy Knox, and if you are new here, this series is a document-driven investigation into the case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Nicholas Godejohn. We have been working through this case in order, not through the version that became popular 10 years later, through the records created while it was happening. The medical files, the online accounts, the messages, the travel arrangements, the final hours inside the Blanchard home, the arrests, and most recently, the interrogations. At the time I made parts 8 and 9, I had the court record, I had the public statements, I had the plea agreement. I could see where Gypsy's case ended, but I couldn't see how it got there. Now I can, because I have the emails. Before I get into the documents themselves, I need to explain how these records came into my possession and why you will see my watermark across the copies I use throughout this episode. Back in March this year, I submitted a Missouri Sunshine Law request to the Greene County Prosecuting Attorney's Office because I wanted to look more closely at the plea negotiations in this case.
Karen.
This wasn't something I requested after these records had already become a public talking point. I had already said openly that I wanted to investigate the plea deal. I wanted to understand what was happening behind the public explanation and whether the private records supported the version of events we'd been given. So I researched what had already been released, identified the records I wanted, submitted the request, and then spent months following it up. As late as May, I was still being told that the office was researching which records were responsive to my request and which records were legally open for release. I was then advised that the search and preparation had taken 6 hours and that I would need to pay $137.70 US before the documents would be provided. Because I'm in Australia and we no longer have an easy way to arrange an overseas check, I needed help with the payment process.
Pay attention.
I transferred the funds to Jameson, a trusted creator, and she organised the check, sent it with tracking, and handled the postage for me. And I want to be clear about what that meant in real terms. After converting the amount to Australian dollars, adding the transfer fees and covering the associated costs, I had spent more than $250 Australian of my own money to obtain these records. I then followed up again to make sure the check had arrived and been processed. And on June 15, I finally received the Blanchard and Godejohn productions.
And the day they were arrested.
So these documents didn't just simply appear in front of me. There was a process behind them. There were months of follow-up, international payment issues, postage, tracking fees, and a lot of waiting before I finally received the productions. And once they arrived, I began organising them and cross-checking them against the plea forms, the court records, and the evidence we have already examined throughout the series. I also want to be transparent about something else. My channel is not currently monetized. I don't earn money from these videos at this point. The costs involved in obtaining records, accessing material, and producing this series comes from me personally. Of course, I hope that one day this channel may be monetized and that I may be able to turn this work into something more substantial. But right now, I'm doing it because I care about the research. I believe the records matter, and I want to create something thorough, honest, and evidence-based. I later learned that the same Blanchard and Godejohn productions were released to another creator on the same day they were released to me. As I understand it, their request was submitted approximately 1 month after mine, and it appears to have been handled differently in terms of fees. it wasn't subject to the same search and preparation fee. I can't explain why the two requests were handled differently. I can only explain what happened with mine. And I want to be very clear here. These are public records. I don't own them. I was always going to share what I found and make the material available to the wider community. But these records were also going to be an important part of this series. After the time, money, and work involved in obtaining them, it was difficult to lose the opportunity to introduce them in the way I had planned, to show you what I had been working toward, to place the documents in order, to walk you through what they revealed, and to give them the context I had been building toward before the files began circulating more widely. So, when you see my watermark across these documents shown in this episode, it is not a claim that I own the underlying public records. I don't. The watermark identifies the copies I obtained, paid for, organised and reviewed as part of this investigation. And honestly, I was disappointed, not because public records should be hidden, they shouldn't, but because I had invested months of work and my own money into obtaining them, and I wanted the chance to present them carefully, in sequence, with the context they deserved. But the documents are here now, and rather than allowing that disappointment to overshadow what they contain, I want to return to the question that led me to request them in the first place. How was Gypsy Rose Blanchard's 10-year plea deal reached? And did the state have the full evidentiary picture when that decision was made?
Wow.
And what I am going to show you in this episode is why that process mattered. Because I didn't just receive these documents and skim them. I've studied them. I've put them in order.
I just want to say that this is going to be my first time ever hearing this, seeing these, anything. I've never seen the plea deal. So this is
That's
like,
not the entire plea deal.
well,
Part of the plea deal still.
what
It will
she's
never be released.
what she's got. Like, I'm so, hey Puerto Rican, I'm so excited to hear what she has to say. I just wanted to add that little part in.
I've compared them against the court record, the plea paperwork, the interrogation evidence, and the public version of the story. And what I found goes deeper than what has been publicly laid out so far. After the arrests, after the interviews, and after both defendants were charged, the legal story began moving behind closed doors. The public saw headlines. The defense saw mitigation. The prosecutor saw negotiation. And Gypsy's case began shifting away from the trial it appeared to be heading toward, and toward a plea agreement that would change how the entire case was understood. So before we talk about the 10-year sentence, we need to look at the road that led there. There was no trial examining the full extent of her planning. No jury weighed every message she sent to Nicholas. No jury examined every medical claim. No court ruled that every procedure was unnecessary. No full hearing established every allegation later made about Dee Dee. And no jury examined hours of private recorded exchanges between Gypsy and Nicholas before Gypsy received her sentence. There was negotiation, a defense team building mitigation, a prosecutor exercising discretion, a public story developing beside a private legal process, and eventually a one-page agreement reducing first-degree murder to second-degree murder and imposing the lowest available term. Over time, that agreement began being treated as though it proved the entire story. The prosecutor saw everything. The court confirmed the abuse. The judge understood the complete history. The sentence proved the narrative was true. But that's not what a plea agreement does. A plea resolves the criminal charge before the court. It doesn't automatically turn every claim made during negotiations into an established fact. And I want to be upfront about something as we begin. When I made my earlier episodes, Some of what I believed was inference. Some of those suspicions are now supported by these records. Some need to be tightened and some remain unanswered. I'm going to be honest
Welcome
about
in,
all
welcome
three
in.
because I didn't spend months obtaining these documents to force them into a conclusion I had already reached. I obtained them to find out what happened. So, we are going
Hey,
back to
girl.
June 2015, to the days immediately after the arrests, before the documentaries, before the memoir, before years of interviews refined the story, back to the case investigators first believed they were looking at. A woman accused of asking her boyfriend to kill her mother so they could be together. Investigators publicly examining what they described as a long pattern of financial deception, and a defence team facing a very obvious problem. How do you defend someone the public may not yet see as sympathetic? This is the trial before the trial. The story of how Gypsy Rose Blanchard moved from the interrogation room to a 10-year plea agreement. And this time, we have the emails.
Ooh, level up.
Shadows crawl on the city walls.
I love her intro.
Before we open a single email, we need to be clear about what a plea deal is and what it's not. We call it the justice system, but mechanically, it is a legal system. Justice is the ideal. Law is the machinery used to reach it, and that machinery doesn't always produce identical outcomes simply because two people were charged in the same case. A prosecutor has a broad discretion, although that discretion is not unlimited. The prosecutor decides what charges the state is prepared to pursue, what charges it may agree to amend, which counts it may dismiss, what lawful sentence it is willing to recommend, and whether it is prepared to resolve the case without a trial. Those decisions can be influenced by the strength of the evidence, the risk of taking the case before a jury, the mitigation presented by the defence, the likely response of jurors, the time and cost involved in continuing the prosecution, and the certainty that comes with securing a conviction through a negotiated plea. That is not by itself corruption. It is a plea bargaining, and it happens every day. The defence can ask for a reduced charge or sentence. The prosecutor can agree, reject the request, or make a different offer. The two sides can negotiate, sometimes for months, but the defence cannot force the state to offer a deal, and the prosecutor cannot force the defendant to accept one. The prosecutor can offer 10 years to one defendant and life to another. The law doesn't automatically require co-defendants to receive the same offer, but the prosecutor cannot finish the process alone. The defendant must decide whether to accept the offer, and the judge is not simply there to watch everyone sign a piece of paper. The court must address the defendant and determine they understand the charge, that they understand the rights they are giving up, that the plea is voluntary, and that there is a factual basis supporting the offence. The judge can accept the agreement, reject it, or defer that decision until more information is available. But here is the part that matters for this case. A plea hearing is not a substitute for a full trial. The judge is not required to call every doctor who treated Gypsy. The court does not independently audit every page of her medical history. Every relative is not placed under oath. Every allegation is not cross-examined. Every disputed story isn't tested. And every message, video, and private conversation between the defendants is not necessarily played in open court. The purpose of the hearing is to determine whether the defendant is knowingly and voluntarily pleading guilty to the criminal offence before the court, and whether the plea has a sufficient legal foundation. It is not a trial into the entire history surrounding the case. That distinction has become blurred in the years since Gypsy's plea, because people often talk about the 10-year agreement as though the court heard everything and delivered a final ruling on the whole story. The abuse was proven, the medical fraud was proven, every treatment was unnecessary. Gypsy was legally trapped. She had no other option. The judge knew all of it. But that is not what the plea agreement says, and it is not what the plea process established. Gypsy admitted guilt to second-degree murder. The state agreed to recommend 10 years. The armed criminal action charge was dismissed. The court accepted that resolution. That is what was legally decided. Everything surrounding that outcome, the medical narrative, the extent of the alleged abuse, Gypsy's knowledge of the deception, the balance of control between her and Nicholas, and the full extent of her planning was not resolved by a jury verdict in her case, because there was no jury. There was a negotiation. And this is why I keep separating two questions that are often treated as though they are the same. Was the plea lawful? And was the plea fully informed, proportionate, and fair? Those are not identical questions. A prosecutor can act within the law and still make a decision that people reasonably question. A judge can lawfully accept a plea without independently confirming every claim used to persuade the state to offer it. And a defendant can receive the benefit of mitigation without that mitigation ever being tested the way it would have been at trial. So when we read these emails, we are not trying to prove that the prosecutor lacked the legal authority to offer Gypsy 10 years. He had the authority to negotiate a lawful resolution. The question is, what informed that exercise of discretion? What was placed in front of him? What was independently checked? What was still missing? And which version of Gypsy Rose Blanchard the state had come to accept by the time that one-page agreement was signed? Because the plea resolved the criminal charge. It did not establish every part of the public narrative as fact. And before that sympathetic narrative became the version most people recognize today, the case investigators first described looked very different. To understand why sympathy became so important, we need to go back to the story the public was first given, because it wasn't the story most people know today. On June 14, 2015, friends and neighbours went to the Blanchard home after a disturbing post appeared on the Facebook account shared by Dee Dee and Gypsy. The front door was locked, nobody answered, and when deputies entered the house, Dee Dee was found dead in her bedroom. Gypsy was gone. At that moment, investigators didn't know whether Gypsy had also been harmed. They didn't know whether she'd been taken, and they didn't know who Nicholas Godejohn was. The first public concern was for the missing, disabled daughter believed to be vulnerable and possibly in danger. Then investigators traced the Facebook activity to Big Bend, Wisconsin, and within hours, the case changed completely. Gypsy was found at Nicholas's home, alive, uninjured, and able to walk, and not being held captive. That discovery alone shattered the story the public thought it understood, and it was only the first shock. According to the probable cause allegations, Nicholas told investigators that he had stabbed Dee Dee because Gypsy asked him to. Investigators alleged that Gypsy had helped prepare for his arrival, that she provided him with the gloves and access to the knife, that she let him inside the house, that she remained in the home while Dee Dee was killed, and that she helped clean blood afterward. Police also said Gypsy admitted writing the Facebook posts that led everyone back to the house. This was not being presented as a random intruder. It was not being presented as Nicholas appearing in Springfield without Gypsy's knowledge. The case being described publicly was a planned killing involving both of them. On June 16, probable cause statements were submitted for first-degree murder and armed criminal action. Both Gypsy and Nicholas were placed into custody in Wisconsin. At Gypsy's extradition hearing, the state asks for $1 million cash bail. The prosecutor described her as someone accused of conspiring with Nicholas, asking him to stab her mother, taking money from the home, and fleeing Missouri. The court imposed the $1 million bond. At that point, Gypsy and Nicholas were not being treated as though one was the obvious victim and the other was the obvious villain. They were both facing the most serious charge available. And the physical evidence was already beginning to build. Inside Nicholas's Wisconsin home, investigators recovered thousands of dollars in cash, wigs, travel documents, and a large envelope believed to contain the knife that had been mailed from Springfield. The Greene County evidence records also identified disposable gloves, Greyhound material, Facebook records, and the knife itself. Then investigators turned to the phones. There they found messages exchanged in the days leading up to the killing, messages that documented preparation, timing, and travel, and a video recorded inside the Blanchard home showing the route towards Dee Dee's bedroom, ending with a stabbing gesture directed toward the bed. That doesn't tell us every detail of who controlled every decision, but it tells us this was not a plan that appeared out of nowhere when Nicholas reached the front door. The evidence already pointed backward to conversations, preparation, and a shared understanding of what was supposed to happen inside that house. Then came the second major shift. Law enforcement began publicly questioning almost everything the community believed about Dee Dee and Gypsy. Sheriff Jim Arnott warned, things are not always as they appear. He said investigators had found that Gypsy could walk without assistance, that different birth dates had been used, that the family's Katrina story had not yet been confirmed, and that authorities had uncovered what he described as the appearance of a long financial fraud scheme. He publicly cautioned people against donating more money until investigators understood the extent of the deception. That early narrative matters because law enforcement was not initially presenting Gypsy only as someone who had been deceived by her mother. Investigators were also asking what Gypsy knew, what she had participated in, how long she had known she could walk, whether she understood the age and medical claims being made publicly, and whether she had played a role in obtaining money, donations, and assistance based on representations that were not true. Search warrant reporting from that period described investigators' belief that Dee Dee and Gypsy may have defrauded an unknown number of people over an unknown period of time. That was an investigative allegation. Gypsy was never ultimately charged with fraud, and Dee Dee was dead, meaning she could never answer those claims. But this was the case the public saw first, not simply a daughter escaping a monster, a 23-year-old woman accused of asking her boyfriend to kill her mother so they could be together, a defendant accused of helping prepare the scene, a woman who had written the Facebook posts, who had left Missouri with Nicholas, who was found with him in Wisconsin, and whose possible involvement in years of public deception was now being openly investigated. The later documentaries would largely organise this story around one central idea. Gypsy was a medically abused daughter who believed she had no other way out. But in June 2015, the picture was far less comfortable. It included allegations of abuse, but it also included evidence of agency, planning, secrecy, and money, along with the growing possibility that Gypsy had not simply discovered the extent of the deception after her arrest. The evidence suggested she may have understood far more than the public had been led to believe. And that was the problem facing the defense. Because before Gypsy could be presented as a sympathetic victim of extraordinary circumstances, the public had already been introduced to her as something very different, an alleged participant, a possible beneficiary of deception, and the person investigators said had asked Nicholas Beaudejean to kill. The evidence had not yet been tested in court. The medical history had not been fully examined, and no jury had decided what any of that meant. But the first version of Gypsy Rose Blanchard was already out there, and almost immediately, another version began taking shape. That was the case facing Gypsy's defense in June 2015. Not the version most people recognize now, the version investigators had placed before the public. Gypsy had allegedly asked Nicholas to kill Dee Dee so they could be together. She had helped prepare for his arrival. She had allowed him into the house. She left Missouri with him afterward, and law enforcement was publicly examining what it described as a lengthy pattern of financial deception surrounding both Dee Dee and Gypsy.
Specify at the beginning of this press conference that this is an ongoing investigation. And I want to start off with saying things are not always as they appear. I know that you all have most of the information related to the PC statement, so I'm going to start going into some facts that we have, and then I'll take questions. Both Facebook postings that appeared that everyone has copies of were authored by Gypsy. As we dig into this further, we'll have more information regarding the details. I want to make a statement to use caution in donating money to this family at this time, as we have unearthed the appearance of a long financial fraud scheme along with this tragic event. This is a tragic event surrounded by mystery and public deception.
And the sheriff in Greene County, Missouri, just ended a news conference. He says it just took another bizarre twist, saying that Gypsy had lied about her age and her health conditions to gain sympathy from the public and to collect money from them. We'll have much more details coming up live at 5. Reporting live in Waukesha, Julia Fellow, today's TMJ4.
Again, Gypsy was never ultimately charged with fraud. At that stage, investigators were still trying to determine what she knew, what she had participated in, and how long she had understood that the public story surrounding her life wasn't true. But from the defense perspective, the problem was obvious. The available evidence did not present Gypsy only as a helpless daughter. It presented her as an adult accused of helping plan her mother's death. A woman who knew she could walk, a woman who maintained secret accounts, who developed an online relationship, who organized Nicholas's trip, and who was now potentially being examined as a participant in the very deception that had made her family so visible and so supported by the community. That is not an easy defendant to present sympathetically. And according to Gypsy herself, her attorney understood that immediately. Gypsy recently described an early meeting with her defense lawyer. According to her account, he approached her with a stack of papers. On top, she says, were the words, mother, daughter, fraud. And Gypsy claims her attorney told her words to the effect of, it is easier to defend a sympathetic perpetrator than a piece of shit victim.
Throughout the whole proceedings and everything, I stayed pretty much quiet and let my attorneys talk for me. Mike, the first time I ever met Mike, when I got transferred from Waukesha to Greene County, he had a stack, and I'm talking a big stack, of papers. And the very top of it was Mom commits fraud scam. And I hadn't even talked to this man yet. I can see how there may have been more that didn't get put into the evidence. I will say that my attorney had told me something when we first started having our meetings when I got arrested.
I just want to say, look, Gypsy could breastfeed on him. Just roll her bit, when she get her face is just right, her mouth is just right at nip level, and she could just da. Sorry, I just thought
looking at her going, baby, want a bottle?
She's just so short and he's so big. Oh my gosh.
And he said it's a lot easier to defend a sympathetic criminal than it is to defend a piece of, I hate to say, piece of shit victim. So that is, his take on it. Sometimes it's easier to defend even the criminal or the offender in the situation if the victim is not of upstanding character.
Now let's be clear about what that would mean. It would not mean her attorney had done anything improper. A defense lawyer is supposed to identify the weaknesses in the case against their client. They are supposed to develop mitigation. They are supposed to explain why the person sitting beside them should not receive the harshest available punishment. That is their job. But if Gypsy's account is accurate, then it gives us a very revealing lens through which to examine what happened next. Because the central defense problem was not simply the physical evidence. It was who Gypsy was going to become in the eyes of the public, the prosecutor, and potentially a future jury. Was she an alleged co-planner, a participant in deception, an adult who had asked someone else to carry out the killing, or a medically abused daughter who believed she had no other way out? And within days of the arrests, that exact question was already being discussed publicly. The Missouri court docket shows that Michael Stanfield formally entered his appearance for Gypsy on June 16, 2015. There was nothing unusual about him entering the Missouri case while Gypsy was still being held in Wisconsin. The charges already existed. The warrant had been issued. Her Missouri defense could begin protecting her interests before she was physically transported back. But what happened the following day is worth examining. A Facebook group had been created to discuss the case, and people were already debating whether Gypsy had been abused. I have access to these posts because a creator named Jameson, who has been researching this case since 2015, developed her own extensive case file containing screenshots, records, and supporting material, all organised in a way that could be easily shared with others covering the case within the community. The amount of time and effort that has gone into preserving and organising that material has not gone unnoticed by me, and I am genuinely grateful that she has willingly shared all her work with us. Those archived posts allow us to see exactly how the conversation was developing in the immediate aftermath after the arrests. People were not only debating whether Gypsy had been abused, they were questioning whether she had other options, whether she could have asked for help, whether her family should have known what was happening, and whether the public should sympathise with her despite the allegations she was now facing. One post stated, "Her public defender would like everyone's opinion," An account using the name Patty Lou responded, "She's my client. Thanks for posting this. We're trying to get views of local people." When people in the group challenged how Gypsy could already have a Missouri public defender while she was still in Wisconsin, the same account identified its connection directly. It stated, "I'm the only Patty in our system.
Thank you,
You
Miss
can
Moore.
access who I am on our MSPD page." And then, "Mike is her attorney and I'm his paralegal." The account was not merely watching silently, it was participating. It described Gypsy as its client, and it said, "We're trying to get views of local people." That wording is important because the views being gathered were not about the weather outside the courthouse. They were not about a hearing date. They were not about whether the media had pronounced someone's name correctly. People were debating the central moral question that would later define this case. Was Gypsy primarily a perpetrator, or was she primarily a victim? One group member challenged the sudden shift directly. They wrote that family and friends were now saying Gypsy had been mentally abused and made to appear ill, but that nobody had stepped forward with that information before the killing. The writers said they felt some sympathy for Gypsy, but not enough to accept that she had no other choice. The Defense Connected account thanked that person for posting and said they were seeking local views. Now look at what else was being discussed inside that same group. Members were already proposing Munchausen syndrome by proxy, possible poisoning, claims that medication caused Gypsy's dental problems, and even possible legal theories. One person wrote, "There is your self-defense plea right there." These were members of the public. They were not doctors reviewing the complete medical record. They were not attorneys presenting evidence in court. They didn't know what testing had been performed, which diagnoses were supported, or what Gypsy had privately told Nicholas over the preceding years. They were trying to make sense of an extraordinary story as it unfolded. And at that stage, nobody in that group had the full evidentiary picture. But what stands out is how quickly the conversation began moving in one particular direction. People were already talking about medical abuse, poisoning, unnecessary medication, and whether Gypsy believed she had no other way out, and whether what happened could somehow be understood as self-defense. Most of all, they were asking whether she deserved sympathy.
You.
And those were not passing ideas that
Love
disappeared
it.
once more evidence emerged. They became the foundation of the public story that would follow.
Oh, it's so
The same
cute.
broad
Oh,
themes
thank
repeated in
you.
interviews,
Boo,
documentaries,
Chewy.
and coverage of the case for years afterward. I'm not saying the Facebook group created the Gypsy defense. The screenshots don't prove that. I'm not saying Mike Stanfield personally directed his paralegal to test different theories. The screenshots don't establish that either. And I'm not suggesting that the abuse allegations were invented because strangers were discussing them online. That would go far beyond the evidence. But here is what the screenshots do show. Within approximately 24 hours of Stanfield entering the case, an account identifying itself as his paralegal was inside a public discussion where local people were already
Thank
demonstrating
you.
which explanations made them more sympathetic to
Thank you,
Gypsy
Miss Moore.
and which ones they rejected. So were they simply listening to the community, or were they also learning which interpretation of Gypsy generated the most sympathy? That question becomes even more important when we look at how the family's
Gia.
own public account developed. Screenshots preserved from August 2015 show different versions of what Christy Blanchard was telling people publicly. In one longer statement, Christy said that the family had no clue what Gypsy was doing. She said they had continued paying child support because they believed Gypsy required around-the-clock care. And she pushed back against people claiming she had known Gypsy could walk. Christy explained that when Gypsy was a young child, a friend had once seen her jumping on furniture, but she also said she had never personally seen Gypsy walk until Gypsy appeared in court in Wisconsin. Then another version of Christy's public account states, "Did I know she could walk? Yes." It also says, "Over the years, we heard stories of some of the things Dee Dee had done to make her more sick." And it describes Rod and Christy as having remained in constant contact after Dee Dee and Gypsy moved to Missouri. Those are not small differences in emphasis. One account says the family had no clue and had never personally seen Gypsy walk. Another says yes, Christy knew she could walk and had heard stories for years that Dee Dee was making her sicker. I'm still distinguishing whether these were edits to the same original statement or separate public posts. I'm not going to tell you that Christy secretly altered one particular post unless the original edit history proves that. What I can say is that whether these were edits or separate statements made at different times, the family's public account did not remain completely static. It became firmer, more certain, and increasingly consistent with the abuse narrative that was beginning to form around Gypsy. Now, that does not automatically mean anyone was lying. People can learn new information, memories can become clearer, family members can speak imprecisely in the middle of an overwhelming situation and later explain themselves differently. But when those changes touch the central questions in this case, what the family knew, whether they believed Gypsy was being abused, and why the public should sympathise with her, then those differences matter. They should be documented, not quietly blended together until it looks as though everyone had always told the same story. So the real question is not simply whether the family supported Gypsy after the arrest. It is what they actually knew before Dee Dee died, what they learned only after the arrests, and where each part of the latest story came from, which claims were based on something they had personally witnessed, which came from conversations with Gypsy, and which ideas became accepted only after the case had already entered the public conversation and people were trying to make sense of what had happened. Because this is where the language around Gypsy begins to change. At first, she is being discussed as a possible co-planner, an adult daughter who may have understood more of the deception than the public realised, and the person who asked Nicholas to kill Dee Dee. Then, increasingly, the focus shifts. She becomes the medically abused child, the prisoner in her own home, the manipulated girlfriend, the desperate victim who believed she had no other way out. And to be clear, those descriptions are not automatically mutually exclusive. A person can experience genuine abuse and still make deliberate choices. A defendant can have powerful mitigation and still bear responsibility for the role they played. The problem begins when one side of that story is allowed to erase the other. But the version of the story that eventually took hold was not simply discovered, complete and unquestioned. It was built from the information the defense chose to highlight, the details it organized around Gypsy, and the claims that were repeated until they became familiar. That is what defense advocacy is meant to do. It presents the client's history and circumstances in the most favorable light possible. The question is whether every important part of that presentation was supported by the underlying evidence, or whether some claims became accepted because they were emotionally powerful, long before anyone had independently tested them. Keep that question in mind as we move into the emails. According to Gypsy's own recent account, her defense understood from the beginning that sympathy would matter. Then, one day after her attorney formally entered the Missouri case, an account identifying itself as his paralegal was inside a local Facebook group saying, "We're trying to get views of local people." And those local people were actively showing which version of Gypsy they were willing to forgive. The evidence did not necessarily change, but the way the evidence was organised, explained, and presented began changing almost immediately. And only weeks after the arrests, while the defence position was still taking shape, the private emails were already referring to discussions about an appropriate resolution. And the public framing was not limited to Facebook. At Gypsy's first Missouri court appearance, Mike Stanfield thanked police, the media, and members of the public for helping to uncover what he called the scope of what Dee Dee was involved in. He also announced that he intended to have Gypsy's case heard separately from Nicholas's. That was the legal and public split beginning at the same time. Separate Gypsy from Nicholas and place what Dee Dee allegedly did at the centre of how Gypsy would be understood before the medical mitigation package had even been assembled. Before we move into the emails, we also need to hear Gypsy speaking from jail because these calls show how quickly the defense narrative began taking shape once the evidence was placed in front of her. In the first call, Gypsy tells her family that her lawyer now knows which defense they are going to use. She says, "We know we have a plan." According to Gypsy, part of that plan involved a significant memory loss caused by medication. She says she can't remember everything that happened and that the text messages were written while she was affected by medication. Later, she specifically mentions Ambien. Then the photographs come up. The images of her posing with knives, she says, were being taken out of context. She was dressed as Harley Quinn, and she points out that there were also photographs of her dressed as a princess, but those were not being shown. She then begins describing her own role. Gypsy says she probably would not receive the maximum sentence because I didn't do the actual kill or anything. She describes herself as just kind of aiding, and that is an extraordinary way to minimize what the evidence showed. She was not simply standing nearby while someone else formed the plan. She was the person who asked Nicholas to kill Dee Dee, helped arrange his trip, prepared the weapon, gave him access to the house, and told him when to come. But in this call, all of that is reduced to just kind of aiding. And that is what stands out across both recordings. Almost every piece of incriminating evidence is immediately followed by an explanation that makes it appear less deliberate, less serious, or less reflective of who Gypsy believed herself to be. The messages were caused by medication. The memory gaps were caused by medication. The photographs were misunderstood. The planning came from desperation. The physical killing belonged to Nicholas. and Gypsy's own role was reduced to helping around the edges. By the time the explanation is complete, she no longer is positioned as the person who helped create the plan. She is positioned as someone medicated, confused, desperate, and caught up in something Nicholas ultimately carried out. Not the planner, not the person driving the outcome, the victim.
And there'd be a bunch of little conferences that's where the real work begins of just figuring out what our defense is, what our plan is, and now that things are more defined, my lawyer said that we know what defense we're going to go with. We know we have a plan because, like I was telling you before, I have a lot of memory loss because of the medications, and so I don't remember everything that happened. And they had showed the evidence, and the evidence was bad. It was in the form of text messages. And so, anyway, now it's bound over for trial, so we have to go to trial. And basically, what my lawyer is looking at is the charge of manslaughter, which carries a penalty of 15 years maximum. But most likely I wouldn't get that much time because I didn't do the actual kill or anything. That I was just kind of aiding rather than being the one that hit.
Exactly.
I had taken like 2 Ambiens because Mom was giving me her medicine too, and I have a bad reaction to Ambien. But it's the fact that someone.
Oh yeah, they got those pictures. You was posing with some knives and all, like costume dress, whatever. They have that all over the internet.
I was posing.
3 different poses. One you have a knife by your tongue, one by your booby, and it's like everybody's thinking like, well, is she a kook, psycho killer?
No, it was a Halloween costume.
You took the picture.
I took the picture, and it was last October that I took them pictures, but posted it like more in towards May. And I'm like, if you ever seen the comic book Batman. Well,
I noticed what Hunter knew right away who you was dressing as.
Yeah, and the character is called Harley Quinn. It's the Joker's girlfriend.
That's exactly what Hunter said.
Did you see the news, or at least the news portion of where they showed me in court with the purple glasses?
What, baby?
Did you see the news coverage on, it's a TV station here, but it's called KY3.com. The news had reported me in court, and it shows me crying. That was my reaction whenever
that's the one I saw.
That's my reaction. That's my reaction whenever they were showing pictures.
Yes, before they said that they showed all kind of pictures. I mean, they said she was stabbed 12 times.
12? Are you kidding me?
12 times. Oh.
I wasn't even in the room. I was in the bathroom, and
they said that you gave him the gloves and you gave him the knife.
I don't even remember that part.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it's like,
Okay, wait. Okay, wait. So I have a question. Like she did a toxology report and it came up clean. There was nothing in it. Now she's claiming she was on Ambien and doesn't remember stuff. Does Ambien come up on that? Does that stay in your system? Like, does anybody?
I think it stays in your system for like 3 days, like any other type of drug.
So it's a possibility that it could have left her system before she had interaction with the police.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, she did say that she took her stuff with her. And I mean, was she using it while she was there? Because it depends on what narcotic it is. Some of it is like 2 or 3 days. Some of it is a week. Some of it's 2 weeks, depending on the dosage, how heavy of a user you are, your metabolism rate. All that shit matters on
Yeah.
whether or not. And
But
like,
we don't have what rugs she took with her. Like, do they have that in the report? Like what they found on
I
her?
thought she said she had Vicodin with her.
I know, but wouldn't it be in the report when they went through their stuff? Because like Renee, you know, they had pulled it all out and they put it on the grass and they took a picture of everything. Like the wigs and the outfits.
I mean, they should have reported if she has some type of drug on them. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm curious about, because it's like if she took the rugs with her, and then was she using the rugs? Did she sell the rugs? Like, where are the rugs that she took with her? I don't.
It's all not adding up and all that stuff. Like, I think there's more to it than what she's proclaiming.
Yep, I agree.
Some of it said it was a big blur. And that's the hardest part, is trying to tell the truth and having a nightmare after that kind of makes what the real truth is. In the house, it said you are crazy. I'm taking heat, but my lawyer says that there are supporters out there too.
In a second call, Gypsy says she now had to accept that she is a part of it. But even that admission is immediately softened. She adds, even though I didn't mean to be. Then the medication explanation returns. She says the things that she wrote were not things she would normally say or do, and that she cannot clearly remember the conversations because of what she'd been taking. After that, she tells her family what her attorney allegedly said once the evidence had been shown. According to Gypsy, we have a plan. She explains that there had been 2 possible strategies, one for the version in which she was involved and another for the version in which she was not. Now, because the evidence was pointing directly to her involvement, they would use the plan built around that reality. Again, that doesn't mean her lawyer did anything improper. The defense had to respond to the evidence in front of them, but the call shows the strategy changing in real time. The question was no longer whether Gypsy had been involved. The messages were making that increasingly difficult to deny. The question had become how that involvement could be explained without losing the sympathy already beginning to form around her. And Gypsy was already helping shape that explanation. Her father tells her that she needs to be completely honest with Mike because the evidence had kind of blindsided everybody. That line matters. Even her own family understood that the messages had changed the case. Gypsy insists that she had been honest with her attorney, but once again, the explanation follows immediately. She says she had been taking medication, including medication that allegedly wasn't hers, and therefore could not remember the conversations clearly. So even the question of whether she had fully disclosed her role comes with another reason for why she may not have done so. Then she says the line that, in my view, captures the entire tension of these calls. It feels like I'm a victim, but it's like I'm part of it, but I feel like a victim. Her family immediately responds, "You are, sweetie." And later, "You're a survivor." That is the identity being reinforced.
Passing out cake.
Gypsy has just acknowledged that she's a part of what happened. But the part of the sentence everyone holds on to is the part that protects her. Victim, survivor, and this is what stands out to me. Gypsy does not always deny the evidence outright. Instead, she absorbs it and changes what it's supposed to mean. Yes, those are my messages, but I was medicated. Yes, those are my photographs, but they were taken out of context. Yes, I was involved, but I didn't physically kill her. Yes, I helped, but I was desperate. Yes, I am a part of it, but I am still the victim. That is how the story begins to shift, not by making the evidence disappear, but by giving every damaging fact a new explanation. That is not full ownership. That is damage control. And it was happening before the documentaries, before the memoir, before years of media interviews. While Gypsy was still
Welcome
in
in,
jail,
everyone.
learning what investigators had recovered. The most revealing part is how easily the explanation shifts depending on the evidence. When she believed she could distance herself from the crime, there was one defense. When the messages showed involvement, there was another. When photographs looked damaging, they were misunderstood. When her own words looked deliberate, medication became the explanation. When the planning became impossible to ignore, she reduced herself to someone who was just kind of aiding. That doesn't prove every statement was a lie, but it does show a pattern of reframing. Every incriminating fact arrives with an excuse attached, and Gypsy appears acutely aware of how other people are perceiving her. She discusses the media, the photographs circulating online, the supporters, the people calling for harsh punishment. She knows the public image matters. She knows sympathy matters. And she understands that if she can remain the victim, her role in the planning may be viewed differently. And she is not passively noticing the coverage. She asks how she looked in the court footage. She asks whether her relatives saw her crying when the evidence was presented. She complains that the media showed the Harley Quinn photographs without showing the princess photographs. Her concern is not only what evidence do they have, it's also what does that evidence make me look like? That is perception management happening in real time. She also discusses the possibility of manslaughter and a sentence between 5 and 15 years. Her response is, I could do that, but it shows Gypsy already calculating the outcome, not whether she was involved, how her involvement might be reduced, how the evidence might be explained, and how much time she could live with. These calls sit directly between two very different versions of Gypsy. The first is the defendant investigators were describing in June 2015, the alleged co-planner, the woman who asked Nicholas to kill Dee Dee, and the person who helped create the circumstances that made the crime possible. The second is the version the public would increasingly come to know. Medicated, forgetful, desperate, misunderstood. Someone who was only aiding, still a victim, and already being described as a survivor. The evidence itself had not changed. What was being changed was the meaning placed around it. Gypsy wasn't making the messages, the planning, or her involvement disappear. She was beginning to explain each one in a way that reduced her agency and preserved sympathy. And only weeks after the arrests, while that defense strategy was already taking shape in these calls, Mike Stanfield was writing privately to Dan Patterson about our discussions on an appropriate resolution of this case.
Hey, sweetie. How you doing, boo?
Still very shaken up.
Yeah, I could imagine. This could be okay, sweetie.
I don't know. I was so hopeful earlier, and just stuff that I didn't even remember seeing.
Yeah. I know.
Like, what was I thinking now?
Yeah,
And it's
I can
like,
understand that.
I'm shaken up, and it's like, I didn't even know the details of what he had done, and then to hear it, it's traumatizing on me. And it's like I never asked him to be that gruesome.
Yeah.
And
But we'll get through it, baby. You know.
how can y'all possibly still be so supportive after knowing what y'all found out today?
Baby, because we love you. And it's unconditional love. We love you no matter what, sweetie.
Thank you.
We will never turn our backs.
Wait, is that Christy? Is that Christy or the aunt? Oh, I missed that part. It sounds
Sounds
like
like Christy.
yeah, it sounds like Christy. Okay. Cause dude, this is wild. I was gonna say if that's a sister, I'd be like, bitch, you fucking like hack my sister up.
It's Christy, but not me.
Right.
I mean,
and it's spelled different.
You stuck with us now.
That's good. I want to be stuck. I want to be stuck with you.
We'll get through it.
Yeah. And I kind of took a moment to understand that I am a part of it. And even though I didn't mean to be, I know that I've taken a lot of medication, so I can't remember that clearly how things happened. And
Right, I understand that.
all the things I said under that medication, and it's stuff that I wouldn't normally say or do. And it's just a bad situation. And Mike came into the booth after y'all left, and he's like, it's okay, we have a plan no matter, two plans for if you are involved and if you're not involved, and, it just happens to be the one where you're involved, and we have a defense for that. They're prepared for that.
Yeah. We went there after and talked to them, and there is a plan in motion.
Yeah.
But
And I put my trust in him. I had to kind of laugh when he's like,
Okay, so her saying they had a plan and put in place, but if she was involved, there's a plan. So that's basically her admitting she is involved.
She said that if she was involved, they have a plan. If she wasn't involved, they have a plan. That they've got a backup for either one.
Yeah, Jayla, she thought she was just there. She, like when she was in the, I don't know why I'm here. Can I go back to the house and get my stuff? I need to go home. You know what I'm saying? Oh my
I bet
gosh.
she is in that interrogation room wilding out.
Uh-huh.
Do you work for Facebook? Do you know how it works?
yeah, but just know that we are still behind you 100%.
Thank you.
We're never going to turn our backs.
At this point, I honestly
pause
think
it.
that the worst of it.
She's saying we're never going to turn our backs because we know that you're going to try to put a fucking knife in it.
Ooh, ching ching. Chewy's on it. Dun, dun, shh.
Has come out. If
right.
there's stuff on Facebook, it wouldn't be any worse than what has already been said in those texts.
Really, I think the same thing as you.
And I'm like, I think I was on Facebook while texting him that night, so it might, some things might be on Facebook, but it'll come out, and I'm like, and it can't be any worse than what was in those texts, so.
No, sweetie, I don't think you can.
And I'm like, that picture was taken in October. So one of these dressed up like a comic book character. I'm like, that's so taken out of context because I had pictures of me as a princess too on that website.
Exactly. And everybody takes pictures like that
She
strip
seems so
girls.
more concerned about the
There's a
princess
lot of them.
picture than anything else.
Yeah. Well, because that puts her in a good light. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm just a girl dressing up like a princess, versus the other ones that are her being all cochina and bad girl.
And then she's like, oh, this was just at Comic-Con and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, it's just her home videos from home.
Mm-hmm.
A video of me in that costume, and I was practicing for the sci-fi convention that was going to be coming up. And I guess they were trying to throw anything they could at me.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't remember a lot of what they had showed, so it was like, I told my lawyer, like, I don't remember a lot of it.
Right.
A lot of things
They're thinking, yeah, there's just some things you probably just blocked out.
Right.
You know, and it's just can't remember.
Right.
And maybe you don't want to remember, you know.
To be honest, I don't want to remember, and it's like, it feels like I'm a victim, but it's like I'm a part of it, but I feel like a victim, and I don't know if
You are. You are, sweet.
But at least he kind of told me what we're dealing with and how we're going to handle it, and that to just stay positive. And he's like, don't worry. I'm thinking in my head, how can I not worry? This is my life. And today was a pretty bad day, which I hadn't had this bad of a day, so it shook me up a lot. And I'm like thinking, if this is just a preliminary hearing, I can't imagine how trial is going to be. I wish
Yeah, you shit yourself.
constant Xanax during the day.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot more than that. It'll be weeks.
She said, I
probably,
got the poops on me.
I know, she's like, man, I'm shooken up off of the preliminary. I can't imagine what the trial gonna be. Yeah, bitch, you fucking shit yourself. Straight up. Like, legit. Like the judge was like, oh, like my, what did it say? It's spicy.
Yeah,
Fuck.
my nose burn smells like an electrical fire.
Yeah, girl. And then your ass walked out of there with caca up in your ass. Like, yeah.
Thing to do is
Shit.
just be honest with Mike, you know. That's the only way he can defend you the best he can is if he knows the truth, and then, you know, we can work with that. But you know what to expect, you know. I mean, today's kind of blindsided everybody, and it's partly because you wasn't honest with them.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm like, I was completely honest with him, and I'm like, I was on a lot of medication.
Yeah, I was trying to put it in the chat, but there wasn't enough room. You know, it really, really makes me mad. And I know it makes a lot of people mad. You know how she says, like, how, like, I was in prison, so I didn't get to do all these life experiences, blah, 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 blah. Girl, you put yourself there, you know, and then she says, oh, I didn't get to do a lot of things because of my mom. Oh, I'm a victim from this. I'm a victim from that. Like, girl, she was never a victim, and she put herself there. What about Dee Dee? What about Dee Dee? What about her family and her friends? She got that Dee Dee's not there to live out her life and enjoy these people, and people enjoy her. She's no victim. But how dare she say all these things? She just makes me so sick. And meanwhile, she's living the life Fandango, rolling in the dough and getting like all this infamy from all the things she's done. So gross.
Yeah, it is. It is disgusting. And that
Very
this
well
is
said.
very well said. And this is what we're trying to get people to see and realize and recognize. Out here freaking triggering the dang public. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not okay. And you know what? She's okay. She deactivated her 9 million platform. Good for her. But she's still on the TikToks. She's still on the Instagram. She's still on the YouTubes, the Facebook. Like, you know, she just doesn't go away. It's just gross.
How dare she smile on the camera at us when we all know what she's done? Like, it ain't no thing. Like, the nerve of this woman.
Isn't
Okay, I
that
don't
the
like.
funniest thing? It's just the funniest thing.
I don't like interrupting. I usually like to type in the chat, but there was no room for all of that. I had too much
No,
on my
you're
mind.
good. You're good. Anytime.
All right, roll that bean footage.
Welcome in everyone who's coming in. This is Billy Knox number 10 video that she just put out, part 10. It is called The Plea Deal. And so we're getting into that. Like we getting into the steak and taters.
That weren't even mine. And so I know this sounds crazy, but I don't remember making those texts, listening to those texts, or having any of these conversations. I wouldn't do that normally. And
yeah, I know. So, well, let him know all of that. I mean, he's going to do the best he can, and that's all we can hope for,
he knows that, because I told him.
Be positive about it.
And, it was bad today. I'm still shaking.
Yeah.
It's like, I told Mike and I told Mom that I'm just like, those were pictures that are taken out of context. I was in a costume from October that I had posted in May. How is that relevant to anything? And I had pictures of me as a princess too on there, but I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Well, that'll come out. We'll be able to argue that.
Right.
We'll be able to explain all of that if need be.
And Mike, he had told me, he's like, well, we have a plan, and we had talked about it, and our defense is going to be the battered spouse syndrome, and he knows what he's doing, and I put all my trust in him, and I know that he'll get me the least amount of time possible. And I've been looking up about a roundabout figure of how long prison time does manslaughter charge, because that's what he's kind of going for, because the prosecutor came up to him and was talking about charging you with manslaughter at the end of all this. And so that carries...
15 years for manslaughter is the maximum.
Yeah. And so it's like, it can either be from 5 to 15 years, and I'm like, I could do that. At least it won't be 25 to life or something like that. But there's a lot of factors that need to be taken into account with that as well. So it could be even less than 15.
Yeah, that's right. So just hope for the best, baby.
Hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
But the good thing is it's not going to get, the conversations, I don't think it's going to get any worse than what was in those texts.
Yeah, that was some big doings they had there, so, so yeah, if you know what that is done for, you know your enemy.
Right.
And here it is, the first email in the production, dated July 21, 2015. Just over 5 weeks after Dee Dee was found dead and Gypsy and Nicholas were arrested. The subject line is Gypsy Continuance. Mike Stanfield writes directly to Greene County Prosecuting Attorney Dan Patterson. Before I go talk to Gypsy, would you be willing to provide the discovery you have so far in exchange for our agreement to reset the prelim? Then comes the line that matters. That gives me something to go to her with, and it may help me and you in our discussions on an appropriate resolution of this case. Read that carefully. Stanfield doesn't say, perhaps we can discuss a resolution one day.
Yeah, say something, honey?
Oh, no, I just hit the button by accident. I'm good.
Okay.
Refers to our discussions. By July 21, the defense and prosecution were already talking, at least in some form, about resolving Gypsy's case without taking it all the way through trial. That is early. The arrests had taken place in mid-June. Gypsy had only recently been returned to Missouri. The investigation was still developing. Discovery was still being produced. The medical history had not been fully reconstructed. and the defense was asking to receive what the state had gathered so far, partly because Stanfield wanted something concrete to take back to Gypsy as those discussions continued. Now, this email does not prove that a 10-year deal already existed. It doesn't tell us what either side was offering. It doesn't tell us whether Patterson had expressed any willingness to reduce the charge, and it doesn't prove that the state had already decided how it viewed Gypsy's responsibility. An appropriate resolution could have meant many things at that stage. A plea to first-degree murder, a reduced charge with a severe sentence, a resolution involving testimony, or simply an early conversation about whether a trial might eventually be avoided. We don't have enough in this email to say any of that yet, and early plea discussions are not improper. Defense attorneys are expected to explore every lawful outcome available to their clients. Prosecutors may begin assessing resolution long before the entire case is ready for trial. That is normal, but timing still matters, because while the public was only beginning to absorb the allegations against Gypsy, the defense was already looking beyond the preliminary hearing, beyond the $1 million bond, beyond the first-degree murder charge, toward a negotiated outcome. And remember what else was happening at the same time. The defense problem was being identified. The public was debating whether Gypsy was primarily a perpetrator or a victim. An account identifying itself as Stanfield's paralegal had said they were gathering the views of local people. Family accounts were beginning to emphasize medical abuse and control. And now, the private correspondence shows the defense referring to discussions with the prosecutor about an appropriate resolution. This doesn't prove those events were coordinated. It doesn't prove public opinion drove the negotiations, but it places them beside each other in real time. The public interpretation of Gypsy was beginning to change, and the legal conversation about how a case might end had already started. To do. The question is, what would happen between this email and the final plea agreement? Because in July 2015, Gypsy was still charged with first-degree murder. The state's evidence included planning, messages, travel arrangements, the Facebook posts, money taken from the home, and allegations that she had asked Nicholas to kill Dee Dee. Yet less than a year later, the state would agree to amend that charge to second-degree murder and recommend the lowest available sentence, 10 years. So what changed? What evidence was presented? Which claims were independently confirmed? What did the defense choose to highlight? And what would eventually persuade the state that 10 years, not life, not 30 years, not 20 years, but 10 years was the appropriate resolution? This email doesn't give us that answer, but it tells us exactly when the paper trail begins, only weeks after the arrests, before the mitigation package, before the documentary interviews, before the plea agreement. The destination had not yet been decided, but the defense was already trying to find the road that would take Gypsy there. By July 2015, there were already two versions of this case developing at the same time. One was happening inside the legal system. Discovery was being exchanged, electronic evidence was being reviewed, medical records were being gathered. The defense was beginning to build mitigation. Meetings were taking place and the attorneys were already discussing what an appropriate resolution might eventually look like. But while the legal case was moving through the court system, another case was already taking shape outside it. Family members were speaking publicly. Media outlets were asking for interviews. Claims of medical abuse were gaining traction, and the language surrounding Gypsy was beginning to change. Long before a jury had heard a single piece of evidence, people were already deciding what they believed had happened, who Gypsy was, and how much responsibility she should carry. That is the trial before the trial. Not a legal trial, a public one. A contest over which version of Gypsy Rose Blanchard would become the accepted version before the evidence was fully tested in court. Inside the courtroom, Gypsy was still facing a charge of first-degree murder. The prosecution had the messages, the digital evidence, the travel records, the Facebook posts, and statements from both defendants. Discovery was still being produced. The defence was still reviewing it, and none of the major claims about Gypsy's medical history had yet been tested before a jury. No doctor had been cross-examined, no witness had been required to explain their account under oath, and no jury had been asked to decide which parts of the emerging story were supported by evidence and which were not. But outside the courtroom, a much cleaner version of events was already beginning to take hold. Gypsy had been kept prisoner. She had been made sick. She had been forced into the role of a child. She had been manipulated by Nicholas, and she had believed that killing Dee Dee was the only way she could escape.
The news of all that happened at the Blanchard home came as a complete surprise to John, who picked up Gypsy Blanchard and Nicholas Godjon just before 6 a.m. last Wednesday from the house where Dee Dee Blanchard's body was later found.
Yeah, it felt a little weird, knowing that I'd hauled somebody like that.
John says each carried a bag and got in the back seat of his cab, Gypsy not appearing at all sick or handicapped. He saw no signs that they could be fleeing a murder scene.
They acted, normal, like, nothing had happened.
Court documents say Gypsy tried to clean up some of the blood after the murder, then called the cab.
They was talking in the back, which, I always have the radio turned on, plus you got your two-way on. And I don't really normally pay attention to what people's talking in the back because they're kind of talking under their breath, but I didn't hear none of that.
John has a camera in his cab, but it only saves the video for 24 hours and is recorded over. He says he did notice Gypsy's unusually high-pitched voice and her black hair in an updo.
I believe it was a wig now that I've seen mugshots and stuff because, it wasn't her regular hair.
Yellow Cab says another driver picked up the couple early Friday morning from the Days Inn and took them to Walmart at Glenstone and Kearney, then the Greyhound bus station.
She's the one that paid for the cab fare.
Then another cab took them from the bus station back to the hotel Saturday afternoon. It's not clear when they got a bus to Wisconsin, where they were taken into custody after a standoff.
Now to lies, deception, and murder. 12 News speaks with a family member of one of the Blanchards.
It's new information tonight in a bizarre cross-country murder case that ended right here in Wisconsin. 23-year-old Gypsy Blanchard and 26-year-old Nicholas Godjon appeared in a Waukesha County courtroom today. Both have been charged with first-degree murder, accused of killing Gypsy's mother in Springfield, Missouri. On Sunday, deputies went to the home of 48-year-old Claudinia Dee Dee Blanchard to do a welfare check after threatening messages showed up on her Facebook page saying that expletive is dead. They found Dee Dee murdered and traced Gypsy and Nicholas to his home in Big Bend.
In the complaint, Nicholas admitted to stabbing Claudinia several times in the back while he was holding her down. Gypsy admitted she did nothing to stop it and could hear her screaming. 12 News' Terry Sater is at the Waukesha County Courthouse, and Terry, the mom and daughter, were also entangled in a web of lies.
Gypsy Blanchard cried the entire time she was in court here in Waukesha County. Police say she asked her boyfriend to kill her mother so they could be together. Gypsy Blanchard's mother stabbed to death in her sleep in Missouri. The Wisconsin boyfriend, Nicholas Godjon, accused of being at the other end of the knife.
While there, at her behest apparently, that's just based on his own statement, he did stab to death Gypsy Blanchard's mother.
Now tonight, one of Gypsy's cousins talked to us by telephone from Louisiana, saying this was a ticking time bomb, a mother using her daughter as a girl suffering with cancer to trick people out of their money.
Let me guess, Bobby.
Basically brainwashed that poor child.
Bobby Petrie says several family members questioned for a long time whether Gypsy Blanchard really had leukemia or whether her mother had staged it all to get money. the mother forcing her daughter to sit in a wheelchair.
I was old enough to know that this woman is freaking crazy. Gypsy would be pushing other kids around in her wheelchair. It was a fragile mind to start with. You know, she was young, she was impressionable. Your mom started doing all this stuff to her.
Now Missouri investigators accuse the daughter of conspiring to have her mother murdered at the hand of the Wisconsin man she met online.
This is a tragic event surrounded by mystery and public deception.
The suspects won't be heading back to Missouri for at least a couple of weeks. That's when the court will take the next step in bringing them closer to facing justice. In Waukesha County, Terry Sater, WISN 12 News.
And 12 News also found a 2001 article from Louisiana, which said that Gypsy was spending a lot of time at the New Orleans Children's Hospital because of brain damage from seizures. She was also named the honorary queen for a parade.
Now, some parts of that story may be supported by evidence, others remain contested. Some of the claims came directly from Gypsy, some came from family members, others were developed and emphasized through defense advocacy. But once those ideas entered the public conversation, they began operating very differently from evidence inside a courtroom. They didn't have to survive cross-examination. They didn't have to be weighed against every contradictory record. They only had to feel convincing. And by October 2015, that public case was no longer confined to local news reports, Facebook discussions, or comments from family members. HBO was interested. On October 19, Mike Stanfield emailed Dan Patterson. The subject line was simply Gypsy. Stanfield wrote, "I have been contacted by an Erin Carr from HBO asking me to do an interview for a documentary." He continued, "She says that she is going to be here during the time of the next pre-trial and that she's interviewing you and Sheriff Arnott." Then Stanfield added, "I'd just like to verify what I am being told before I decide what to do with it." Pause there. This is October 2015. Gypsy's case had not been resolved. She hadn't pleaded guilty. The defense had not yet delivered the full mitigation package we are going to examine. The prosecutor was still receiving discovery and assessing the case. Nicholas and Gypsy were still co-defendants facing first-degree murder charges, and a documentary filmmaker associated with HBO was already approaching the defense for an interview. According to Stanfield's email, she also claimed she would be interviewing the elected prosecutor and Sheriff Jim Arnott. The documentary was not arriving after the legal process to explain what had happened. Interest in the documentary existed while the legal process was still unfolding, while evidence was still being reviewed, while the defense position was still developing, and while Gypsy's case was still capable of ending in a trial. That is significant, but we need to be careful about what the email actually proves. It shows that documentary interest existed by October 2015. It shows that Erin Lee Carr had approached Mike Stanfield for an interview, but he was considering whether to participate, and that the project was already positioning itself closer to a case that had not yet been resolved. What it doesn't prove is equally important. It doesn't prove HBO caused the plea deal. It doesn't prove Erin Lee Carr influenced Dan Patterson. It doesn't prove the prosecutor changed his position because cameras were interested. And it doesn't prove the documentary team controlled the defense strategy. The records we have don't establish any of that. What they do show is that the public version of this case was beginning to take shape before the legal case had reached its conclusion. And that matters because documentaries don't simply preserve a story exactly as it happened. They build a version of it. They decide which interviews to include, which records to show, which details deserve emphasis, and which moments are left behind. They influence who receives sympathy, who becomes frightening, who is given context, and who is reduced to the worst thing they have ever done. That doesn't automatically make a documentary dishonest. Every piece of media has a perspective. Every creator makes choices, including me. The difference is that the audience should be able to see where those choices begin, what evidence had actually been tested at that point, and which parts of the story were still only allegations, advocacy, or interpretation. By this point, Gypsy's public story had something Nicholas's case didn't. She had family members willing to speak for her, an abuse framework through which her actions could be explained, a defence team actively building mitigation, and now documentary interest capable of carrying that version of events far beyond Missouri. Nicholas, meanwhile, remained much closer to the figure created by the earliest headlines, the boyfriend from Wisconsin, the man accused of carrying out the physical attack, the person whose name was increasingly associated with violence, fantasy, and danger. Gypsy was being presented differently. She was not only accused, she was explained. Her actions were not only described, they were placed inside a wider story about her childhood, her medical history, and the control Dee Dee allegedly exercised over her life. She was no longer being viewed as simply an adult defendant. She was becoming the daughter whose entire life now had to be reconsidered. That difference didn't begin with the HBO documentary, and the records don't prove the documentary created the plea outcome, but the documentary would eventually give that interpretation an enormous platform. And the timing matters. The legal case was still unresolved. The evidence was still being reviewed. And yet the public version of Gypsy Rose Blanchard was already becoming far more developed, sympathetic, and recognizable than the public version of Nicholas Godejohn. The defense was no longer preparing only for a prosecutor or a possible jury. It was also deciding whether to participate in a documentary while the case was still open. From that point on, the legal case and the public story were running beside each other. Sometimes they touched, sometimes they overlapped, but they were never operating under the same rules. Inside a courtroom, a claim can be challenged, a witness can be questioned, one record can be compared against another, and an expert can be asked to explain exactly how they reached a conclusion. Outside the courtroom, a story doesn't have to survive that kind of scrutiny. It can become accepted because it is repeated often enough, emotionally enough, and by people the audience already trusts. That is how a narrative begins to harden into fact before a judge or jury has ever properly tested it. And that's what I mean by the trial before the trial. The public was already beginning to hear a case for Gypsy, one built around abuse, control, medical mistreatment, fear, and escape. But the state's evidence had not yet been placed against that interpretation in open court. The planning messages had not been walked through a jury, the contradictions had not been challenged, and the story being built around Gypsy had not yet been required to account for every piece of evidence that complicated it. The medical history had not been audited procedure by procedure. The competing accounts of Gypsy's role hadn't been tested. The public was receiving an explanation before the legal system had determined whether that explanation survived scrutiny. And eventually, Gypsy would never have that trial. She would plead. That means the narrative developing around Gypsy would never faced the kind of complete courtroom challenge many people now assume it did. And that's the tension running through everything that follows. The legal case was asking practical questions. What could the state prove? What charge would Gypsy admit to? What punishment would the prosecutor accept? The public case was asking something very different. Who should Gypsy be understood to be? And once the answer became that she was a severely abused daughter who believed she had no other way out, the question was no longer only whether she had participated in Dee Dee's death. It became how much that sympathy should reduce the punishment for her participation. Now, that doesn't mean the sympathy was manufactured. It means the sympathy had legal value. That is how mitigation works. The conduct itself doesn't change, but the person who committed it is placed inside a larger story. Their history, their circumstances, and the pressures around them are used to argue that the harshest interpretation of what they did may not be the fairest one. And the more compelling that story becomes, the more persuasive that argument can be. So by late 2015, two versions of this case were moving forward at the same time. Inside the courthouse, lawyers were reviewing discovery, gathering medical records, preparing mitigation, holding meetings, and discussing whether the case could be resolved without a trial. Outside the courthouse, family members were given accounts. Abuse claims were becoming more established. Documentary interest was growing. Cameras were approaching, and the public was already beginning to decide what it believed. The documentary didn't need to cause the plea deal for its timing to matter. Its existence tells us that Gypsy's public story was being developed before her legal case had been resolved, before the evidence had been fully tested, before every relevant record had reached the prosecutor, and before anyone outside those private discussions knew what the final agreement would be. The trial before the trial was already underway, and the next step was to give the prosecutor a reason to see Gypsy differently. That reason would come through mitigation, but not through every medical record, not through every page, through a selected presentation of the evidence the defense believed would matter most. Then, on November 9, 2015, another major decision was placed on the court record. Dan Patterson said he had not filed an intent to seek the death penalty and didn't intend to do so. By then, he said the state had already provided more than 1,000 pages of discovery and numerous items of electronic media, although the parties were still reviewing the evidence. That detail matters later, because even with that enormous production already moving through the case, the complete Costello report and full video archive still had not reached Patterson's review when Gypsy ultimately pleaded. The case looked complete because it was large. Those are not the same thing. By early 2016, the defense had moved beyond identifying the problem. It was now building the answer. If the state was going to reduce Gypsy's first-degree murder charge, her attorneys needed to give Dan Patterson a reason to see her as something more than the person described in the probable cause statement. What the defense needed now was mitigation. Mitigation does not erase the crime, and it doesn't ask anyone to pretend the conduct didn't happen. It asks the prosecutor, or later the judge, to look beyond the act itself and consider the person who committed it, their history, their vulnerabilities, the circumstances that shaped their decisions, and whether the harshest possible punishment is also the fairest one. For Gypsy, that wider context would be built largely around her medical history and the allegations surrounding Dee Dee's conduct. And on April 7, 2016, Mike Stanfield explained exactly how he was preparing that material for the prosecutor. Stanfield wrote that most of the records he had received were in PDF format. Because he couldn't separate individual pages digitally, he said he was printing the pages he believed were relevant. His words were, "What I am doing is printing off the pages that I believe are relevant." He explained the important information was usually contained in the doctors' and nurses' notes, but he said those records also contained test results, pulse and blood pressure readings, and other information he did not consider particularly useful. So he was removing most of those pages. Stanfield described them as medical minutiae. He said he was then highlighting the pages he chose to provide and writing explanatory notes on them. Let's stop there, because this is not a small detail.
And I'm going to stop it there. Whew. We did an hour and a half of that, which is awesome. Hey, J Love, how you doing? All right.
We did it. We did it. You know, the little Dora theme song. We played the Gypsy Rose from Billy Knox. We did it. We did
it. Yay! Yeah. Well,
did it. Yeah.
We got through a lot of it. I mean, Chewy, after your battle tonight, you can play the last hour of it.
Yep, that's the plan.
And because this was like 2.5 hours, and I did an hour and a half, so that leaves an hour left. But anybody got anything else they'd like to say or mention or
that I heard about feeling?
Gypsy Rose versus Ken Euchre.
Yeah, let me put it up real quick. Let me change the grid. I'm gonna change the grid. Hold up. This one? Nope, that's not the one.
Nope.
I did post it on my page as well.
What time would it be my time in Texas?
Oh, look, there we go. 7
p.m.
Okay.
So it's 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern.
And 4 p.m. for our friends in Alaska.
Yes,
it looks good.
Yeah, I don't have a photo of him because he hasn't, like, done the dress up of it yet. So that's gonna be a surprise too. Like,
I like it. It's mysterious.
Yeah.
We like surprises. We got to keep them guessing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I really appreciate all of y'all coming in today. And Slayer.
Oh, I want to plug for Philathea. Like, she did this video with her, and she's wearing the prison garb and the heels.
Did she make a video?
Well, yeah, she's strutting in the prison garb with like these big black heels with the red bottoms.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It's so funny.
Okay, I'm gonna show it because this is the build up to it, and this is gonna be so much fun because Philathea is a hoot. Y'all, she is a hoot. Is it on her main page?
I think so, because I saw it the other day and I just like fell out of my chair laughing. It was great.
Oh no, she's got so many. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, she's wearing like the stripes and these big heels. Like, they're like big stilettos. It's so funny.
Oh, I see it. Okay. Here we go. Okay, this is Philothea's page, and I'm gonna change the grid back to the big one. One sec. Okay. Oh my gosh, she's wild. Look at this one. Look, oh my gosh. Wait, it says don't miss Sunday Fun Day. Oh, 9 p.m. TikTok live featuring King
I thought
Chewy.
that was a Barbie doll's like.
Oh, it says 9 p.m. She's gonna have to fix that and redo this. Is this one it, honey?
Yeah, this is the one. Isn't that great? It's too rich. She's so creative.
Oh my god.
Try some of the strawberry.
Oh my gosh, I feel like
wait, that's the Jameson one. Where's I want to see the bald head one.
Hey.
Where's that bald head one right here?
Sorry, is my singing annoying? Sorry.
So Ryan loves to talk shit about me on the daily. You know, whenever he goes live, he loves to talk shit about me and about what he would do if he ever saw me in person and about how he wants to fight me and this and that. Okay, Ryan, if that's really true, then I challenge you to a boxing match. You and me, one-on-one, anywhere you want, any venue you choose. Okay, we can live stream it, we can record it, whatever you want. But I challenge you to a boxing match. How about that? Let's do it. You know, you can get all your anger out on me, all the things you hate about me. Let's do it. But I bet you won't accept it. And I really hope that you do, because that would be fucking pretty entertaining. I think that most people would love to see that. You and me, one-on-one in a boxing match? Shit, that'd be content, dude. Let's do it. I'm fucking down. You name the place, you name the time, you name the venue. You want it to be in...
Oh, she's so creative. Absolutely just hysterical. She does read the rosaries Friday nights, 9 p.m. Central Time. So she loves the Lord. And she's really good person. I really like this chick. Let's see. But I hope to see y'all all. Slayer tonight, 8 o'clock your time, Slayer. We're doing it early so you can participate if you want. 8 o'clock your time. Come join us and see Ryan and Gypsy battle, aka Philothea and Chewy.
Gia, you need the Depends, not the adult diapers. You need
Y'all, if you didn't miss it, you got to get your diapers on because you're going to piss yourself laughing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I can't wait. What time in the UK? Chewy, is that one 4 p.m.?
I think it's like 8 hours ahead of our time. If I'm not mistaken.
Spicy Frog, I'm not really sure, but just to be safe, if you go to your world clock and you put in Denver, like Denver time, that's us, and you can check. That's how you can catch us if you put in the Denver time. Oh, 1 a.m. Well, we will have we can show it the next day too. We can do a replay of it for sure.
London is 7 hours ahead of us.
Oh wow. Yeah, y'all gonna have to party, stay up late tonight.
TikTok after dark, London style.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to make it.
Yeah, if you can, great. If not, that's okay. I'll show a replay tomorrow. And
I'm doing my daughter's birthday party early. I mean, it's only just her. Nobody else showed up, so.
Oh, baby. Oh well.
I made one girl cry because she's constantly mean to my daughter, and then she's like, "Can my mom has your phone number?" Hell no.
Jeez.
Not after her mom threatened to hit my daughter. No.
The eagle sticker.
Yeah, Philadelphia saying play that one.
Which one is that one?
The eagle sticker.
Okay, I see right here. Oh man, this wig! I can't wait to see it, Philadelphia. Oh my gosh, y'all already got me hyperventilating over here. Like I ain't even seen anything yet, and I'm already hyperventilating because I know I'm gonna be at that state later on tonight, and I can't wait. Oh my gosh, like. All right.
Hey guys, let's take a poll. Y'all think Rose gonna hyperventilate tonight? Put a happy face for yes, put a sad face for no.
Gia, Chu and Rose want you to make an AI video of Gypsy's interrogation and having Dreamer go and say, "Have a seat."
Oh yeah, because that's the first have a seat for Gypsy. When she's like, sir, I need a lawyer. And they're like, have a seat.
But another battle idea. Gypsy versus Brie.
Oh my gosh. You know.
Hey, did you see what Spicy Frog said? That she broke down that paperwork that you showed the other day from the Kraken? Accounts of them all.
Is it on your page?
Probably on the drive.
Ooh. Well, let me know where we could check it out at. I'll definitely take a gander at it. That is some interesting stuff. I showed it 2 days in a row. You're doing like, I'm just saying, so interesting. But thank you everyone for joining me, going through this series with us, being a voice for Dee Dee. You know, y'all know the spiel. I appreciate you all, and I will see y'all tonight. What did I say? 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. And then on the other side of the world, middle of the night. Y'all the party animals tonight.
Be there. You don't want to miss this.
And then Honey Flua, she gave us some good song requests, so we're excited about that.
Oh, I know. These last two that you sent, like, oh my God, dude. I was like, oh, those are so good. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, this is going to be another epic one. Promise. Y'all know Chewy and Philadelphia don't disappoint. So, we will catch up. Rendezvous, TikTok, 7 p.m. Central. See y'all there. Have a good rest of your day, and
have a good day, y'all.
Yep, have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Much love. Thank you, everyone.
And happy birthday to the birthday girls.
Happy birthday, Gia.
Happy birthday, Gia.
And Christy
Gia, do you want to say anything, Gia?
I just want to say, oh my God, thank you for making my birthday so special. Oh my God.
You love you, girl.
I fucking love it, Gia.
We love you, girl.
Oh my God, love you guys too. Oh my God.
I just want to say that, you don't have to steal my eyelashes today, Gia. I'll just give them to you because it's your birthday, and then you can re-gift them to Rose.
Yes, I'll do that. Oh my God.
Happy birthday and shit.
I need eyelash bandana.
Y'all are fucking awesome, dude.
All right, babe.
I'm gonna choose diaper.
Gia, catch up with you tonight, okay, girl? You're gonna love this shit, all right?
Yeah, I'll go. I'm gonna buy myself some deep ends, a Pediasure bottle, and everything so I can pee and choke and everything. Gypsy style.
Make sure you get some vitamins.
Lots of vitamins.
Don't forget the vitamins.
Get the bananas and
You off
everything.
tonight. Yeah. All
Just
right,
tasted a banana.
Christy.
Bye.
Christy, J Love, Gia, everyone in the chat. I love, adore, worship you all. Chewy, thank you so much for always being there with me. And we will catch up later on. Bye.
Bye.